Hey everybody, this is Michelle.
And this is Julie.
Welcome to A Blonde, a Brunette, and a Mic podcast. What is our podcast all about, you ask?
Well, we're two 50-something women with life experience and, plenty to say.
Which is exactly what we're going to do right now. You know, it's kind of funny. Every time I go to post on our social media and I do our hashtags, of course, the first one I do is hashtag a blonde, brunette, and a mic. And the first thing that starts popping up is a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead. Where did this redhead thing come from?
I don't know, because all I know is gingers have no soul. Or at least that's what I...
Is that what you've been told? Or is that what that's like?
There was, Zoe has auburn hair, right? So, and it's a South Park thing. Oh. Yeah, back in the day. So probably, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that. South Park had an episode where they had redheads or gingers. And it was obviously a spoof, but they were talking about how gingers had no soul. And so they would steal your soul. And so someone, I don't remember who, called her a ginger, and she just lost it. But she was like, "Mom, they're going to take my soul. No," all this kind of stuff. So that was the first time I'd ever heard that. But I have heard the whole beaten like a redheaded stepchild thing. And I don't know where that originated from. And I know you were looking into that.
That originated from slave masters and, having sex with a slave. And if the child had red hair, that's where that term came from.
Wow.
Yeah, because obviously slavery and the beatings. And so it's really not the best term the way it has,
Well, it's just like we were talking about the
history of it.
Yeah, terminology that's out there, or like throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of a thing. We were talking about that. It's like there's these things that we say, or you hear people say nowadays, and nobody really knows what the origin of them is.
Correct. As we're talking about this, I think this needs to be a future episode.
Okay.
There's there's so many things like that.
There are quite a few.
Yeah.
That was one that we talked about. Well, we'll get into an episode obviously with that, because I think that would be really kind of interesting to hear, because there are a lot of, like, I know there's stuff from the plague that, are like, nursery rhymes and things now that you're like, oh my God, where you see or hear about that originating from, you're like, I'm not having my kids learn that. Yeah. So obviously people were talking about redheads and
fiery redheads.
Fiery, spitfire, devious, devilish, conniving redheads. Right.
Where does that all come from?
That's what we're going to talk about a little bit, because I think that redheads get a bad rap. And, in honor of everyone we know out there who has red hair and freckles, or red hair, or auburn hair, or whatever, that they're a ginger, we want to talk about some of this stuff so you can hear. There's actually a lot of really cool stuff about redheads, because they're very, very rare, really, in comparison to the larger population out there.
I like how you kind of put that together. Rareheads.
Rareheads. They're rare redheads.
Rare redheads, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get like a little bit technical just so we can start. So their redheads have two copies of this particular gene called MC1R gene, and that is and I'm doing this very nutshell obviously, but that's kind of what constitutes their red hair. It is actually one of the rarest hair colors in the world, which we kind of knew. I mean, you see people with red hair out there, and sometimes it's dyed red. That doesn't count.
Right.
It's people that are born that way, and you can kind of see that they a lot of the time will have a lot of freckles, or they'll have like porcelain skin, very, very porcelain white skin, in a lot of ways. And it has to do with their melanin production and all this other technical stuff that is the reason why, for example, that they burn more or burn easily, because they're more vulnerable to the sun, and they don't really tan, they more burn. Rare in terms of it being 1% to 2% of the overall population. And there's so many things in history that are stereotypes or stigmas about redheads. And so I was thinking about this. We talked about the ginger has no soul thing. That's probably more in modern day times. But if you're going back in history, like you were just talking about during slavery and the terminology about redheaded stepchild, where that came from, even going further back in history in like ancient Egyptian times, it was believed that redheads were like related to God. They were like associated with godlike things because a lot of the pharaohs had red hair. Animals that had red fur or red hair, they were also looked at the same way as being more kind of royalty or chosen.
I was going to say, so were they kind of worshipped in a way?
Yeah, but they were feared.
Oh, okay.
So that's the difference there, is that it was kind of, they feared or loathed, people didn't like them. And I think a lot of it's just that they were different. They just looked different. They didn't have blonde hair. They didn't have brown hair. They had red hair, which was kind of more of an abnormal thing to see. Also in, like in Christian Europe, like way back in the day, it was something that signified a person might be a witch.
Witchcraft,
yeah.
Yeah, associated with that.
Yeah, and so there were actually people that were out witch hunting, and they would see people with red hair and they would immediately associate them with being a witch or being the devil. They called it a marker, of this trait actually was something that made them evil, made them a witch. They'd get burned at the stake, that kind of crazy stuff.
Wow.
So, but I think the redheads in general hail from the where area?
Aren't they like Irish?
Irish and I think Scottish.
Scottish and Irish.
Yeah, you see a larger percentage of the population, something like 13% of the population in Ireland in particular is redheaded. And then in Scotland, it was something like 11%. So,
I wonder where Prince Harry's red hair comes from.
Yeah, I mean, it's
so random.
It is random, but the other thing too is obviously I almost said submissive. It's a recessive gene.
Yeah.
So it could be dormant in, many different generations. I mean, Prince Harry and the royal family has been known to marry within the family with, I don't know if it's first cousins back then, not now, but some of those, the gene pool's tight. Let's just say the gene pool was kind of tight. So if there were I'm sure there were other redheads around. I think I had talked here about one of the princesses or one of the queens, I think. So I'll get back to that in a minute. But anyway, so we wanted to give you guys a few little facts about redheads. There's a Reader's Digest source that we're quoting on some of these and just kind of putting out some of these crazy things that you might or might not know, which I found to be very enlightening. And
shout out to the redheads.
I know, right?
I mean, because it's such a small part of the population, these kinds of things are recognizable because they're stand out when you do see them. So it's pretty interesting.
And when you see natural redheads, like
I know, I used to be a redhead.
Yeah, like you can tell if someone's a natural redhead for the most part.
Sure. Yeah.
This is going to be just so random off the chart, but there's this one HGTV show that I love, and the girl is from, I don't know, somewhere in the Midwest. Anyway, she is so stunning, and she has the milky white skin, long red hair, and she's got the freckles on her. She's just gorgeous. She's just beautiful. And I've seen a few redheads out there like that where they're just so striking, and a lot of it has to do with, you notice them, because their hair is, they're leaning into their hair. They're not trying to get rid of it, you know, like when, again, Zoe, when she was younger, she could not stand the fact that she had that auburn redheaded hair. Oh my God, she got teased about it, which is kind of crazy because I thought it was beautiful. I mean, I was like, girl, people pay good money for that color.
Yeah.
But she dyed her hair black when she was a teenager. She hated it. I'm like, of all colors, I mean,
let's just do a nice neutral black.
Yeah, nice neutral flat black. But that's not going to stand out.
Yeah.
So anyway, so let's talk just a little bit about some of these.
Back to these redheaded facts.
Yeah.
For example, non-redheaded people can have a redheaded child.
Yeah. Well, and that's going back to that
recessive gene.
Right.
Yeah. So non-redheads can have redheaded children, just like you did.
Yep. I had a redheaded child. Well, she wasn't like a
redhead.
She wasn't like a redhead per se, not like, red. She was more auburn. Yeah. But if you go back in my family history, my great grandma Victoria was from Ireland and she had red hair. So that could very well be where it came from, is what I'm thinking. But, then it didn't show itself until you got, a couple generations, 3 generations ahead or something.
Yeah.
So red hair and blue eyes is the rarest combination out there.
Really?
For people. Yeah. Yeah. You don't really see that very often, but when you do see it, boy, beautiful. Oh boy, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
So are the green eyes with red hair.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I just like green eyes in general, but that's a side note. That's a side note. We kind of all know this, I would think, but obviously redheads have more of a risk or a higher risk of skin cancer and actually gynecological cancers. And again, I'm not going to get into all the details of this because it starts getting into medical
stuff that we don't know shit about.
Exactly. I'm not even going to pretend to know about. I'm just going to tell you that they're prone. There's a higher propensity towards. There had been this review done in 2017, the PLOS review, where some of these items have surfaced from, just FYI.
Okay. They might age faster.
Yeah.
Redheads.
And that's probably to do with the
skin.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Their skin is more delicate for sure.
Mm-hmm.
This one I thought was kind of interesting because I would never have really known this otherwise, except to say that redheads are known, and this has to do with their genetic makeup, for having a higher pain threshold or a higher pain tolerance. So when they have, there's anesthesia and things like that, they actually need more anesthesia to stay under. They don't stay, maybe their body goes through it faster or something as well. So
if they have a high pain threshold, who needs that anesthesia anyway?
They don't stay under anesthesia as long.
Yeah.
So this has to do with, I won't get all technical, but this has to do with the melanocytes released in their bodies that can block these pain receptors.
Interesting.
Yeah. Redheads produce more vitamin D.
That means they're always happy.
Does it?
They must be happy.
Because they produce vitamin D?
Because they get their vitamin D.
From the sunshine?
We get, people, you always hear the vitamin D deficiency because, Seattle's
because we live in the Northwest
and there's not enough sunshine. So you go out to get your vitamin D from the sun.
I know.
So if they're naturally producing that shit, they must be pretty fucking happy.
Yeah, because they can't go in the sun. So it's like their body's saying, okay, we're going to completely
make up for it.
They have to make up for it. Exactly.
And they're so pale, it's like they are the sun.
Well, they're going to be, they're going to have amazing skin when they're older because they don't have this, theory, the sun damage that we all have. The baby oil and the olive oil, when we were teenagers,
It's probably why they are apt to age faster.
Right.
Because of the delicate skin and yes, the exposure. So I'm sure have to be much more careful.
Yeah. Also, we already talked about this a little bit, but the redheads are perceived as really temperamental.
Fiery redhead.
Yeah. Fiery redheads. And also in the bedroom. Yeah. So, kind of a lady in the streets, but a freak in the bed kind of a thing.
I know. Lady on the street, but a freak in the sheets.
Freak in the sheets.
Yeah. That's what they said. They have more sex.
Yeah. Some guys
redheads
love redheads probably for that reason because they're hoping that stereotype is accurate. I don't know. I think redheads, brunettes, blondes and brunettes.
Yeah.
And redheads.
I think, there's...
I think we all have our moments, right?
Yes, we do.
Michelle, do you have your moments?
I have my moments.
Her vixen moments?
Oh, yes.
We're not going to get into those, though, because it would just take up way too much time. So
more fertility issues.
Yeah. And for that reason, there's nothing really that kind of speaks to this, but this particular study I'd mentioned before had basically gleaned from all of the information that they had pulled together that they had more fertility issues. And again, this goes back to some genetic makeup stuff that we're not going to talk about. And then for that reason, perhaps they've started having kids maybe younger than the other hair colors in the population. So I don't know why, but they have a lot of sex though. So their practice makes practice makes perfect.
Like we were saying,
maybe I need to find myself a redhead.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I
know we're talking about it as women, so I'm just thinking about those feisty redheaded women in the bed, but
yeah,
men too.
What do you think that a person who has red hair has red pubes? I'm asking if you think that. Why are you laughing? It's a legitimate question. Should we ask someone?
Probably. They probably do.
Well,
I don't know.
okay, it's not really a yes and no answer. I did do the research.
Oh, I was going to just ask Siri.
No, we're not asking Siri. It can be a variety of, it can just be brown. It can be gray, I suppose. It can be red. It doesn't have to, your pubic hair does not have to match your
hair
head.
color?
No, it does not. And I'm not going to ask you if your pubes are blonde. I'm not going to even ask you because, I don't want to know.
Okay.
Or if you even have any. I don't know. So here's some of the other myths. So fiery and dangerous, or
Can we just go back to the pube hair first? I just remember that of my girlfriend when I was very young, when her pubic hair first started coming in, I just remember we were in her bathroom and she was burning it off.
Because it was red?
She didn't want it. No, she just didn't want it. Sorry, it has nothing to do with the red hair.
She's burning it?
But she was burning it off because she didn't want it.
Do you mean like with a lighter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. She was doing that shit. I was like,
I wonder if her mom called her breasts dirty pillows too.
I don't know.
You know that movie, Carrie?
No. Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So her boobs were called dirty pillows.
I digressed.
Yeah,
So,
you
okay,
did.
continue.
Yeah. I mean, usually people will, use a razor, or they will sugar, or they will just.
I mean, we were like 12.
Yeah. They probably don't even know.
No.
Or it's a big fat bush. And
Yeah.
if it's red or if it's brown, they'll figure it out when they start figuring it out.
Oh my goodness.
Or we tell them as parents because we want them to be well coiffed. Right?
Yeah.
I would like my sons to present themselves well.
Again, that we were young Mormon children. We didn't talk about any of that stuff.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that stuff either.
So,
but
not sure why there was even a lighter in this girl's house. But
probably because she was smoking cigarettes out of the bathroom window.
Probably.
Yeah, that'd be my guess. So going back to myths, stigmas. So we talked about fiery and dangerous, right?
Yeah.
But also think about it, clownish and weak, because you see, goofy kids that have they're awkward. They feel awkward. They probably stand out. Think about
Carrot
kids when you're
Top?
little. Carrot Top. Yeah. Carrot Top is one of the famous ones. He's isn't he a comedian? Mm-hmm. And he's had really, really bad work done on his face, but we're not going to go there.
No.
I mean, he was better off before, but whatever. Geek in public, wild in the bedroom. We talked about being wild in the bedroom.
That is on this list more than a few times.
I think someone's trying to tell us something.
Lots of sex, freak in the bed.
Did I write all this?
Wild in the bedroom.
Perhaps there's going to be a lot of people out there looking for the next redhead.
I do like the ginger.
Mm-hmm.
What is it called? I do like the ginger name that is given to redheads. I don't know why.
So that the name Ginger had appeared from Gilligan's Island.
Is that where that came from?
Yeah,
like being a ginger.
She was
I did not know.
Yeah, in 1964,
yeah, I think is
Ginger. She was on
Tina
Gilligan's
Louise.
Island. Tina Louise. Yep.
Yes,
that's where it started. But she was Ginger on Gilligan's Island. Yep. Yeah. So she was a very, very sexy redhead.
Oh yeah, she was like a Marilyn Monroe redhead version stuck on Gilligan's Island.
Well, and she played a persona of being really stupid.
Well, yeah, she was like a Hollywood movie star.
Right.
And yes, kind of an airhead. But
isn't it amazing? Let's just talk about that for a minute. Gilligan's Island, everybody always looked clean.
Well, they were on an island. They get in the water every day.
Well, and they had different clothes. They were supposed to only go on a 3-hour tour. Why did they have all this stuff with them?
They were pretty. All I remember Ginger in. Well, she had a few dresses.
Yeah, she had a big sparkling dress.
So there were Mr. and Mrs. Howell.
Yeah, Mary
Professor, Mary Ann, Gilligan, Skipper, and Ginger.
Correct.
7 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. I just named those
on a 3-hour tour. Okay, we digress. Redheaded stepchild.
The weather started getting
the tiny ship was tossed. If not for the courage of the fearless crew, the minnow would be lost. And Ginger'd be at the bottom of the ocean. And we wouldn't have that name. So we talked about stepchildren. We talked about souls. We talked about pubic hair. It depends on your melanin production.
And I know we've talked a lot about pale, fair, white-skinned, ginger, redheads. Wow, I cannot talk.
You're still stuck on pubes.
But there are plenty of other, people
Right.
that have red hair as well. So you see that in a lot of mixed children,
Sure.
black, white races, actually like so many different.
And then why wouldn't you? I mean, it's like if you've got people that have that recessive gene, it could be in anybody, I suppose, in their lineage.
Yep.
There's a lot of famous redheads actually out there. Oh, going back to the pubic hair, the other nickname was fire crotch.
Wow, that would tell me that
I've heard
the
people
pubes are
ask
red.
that question. I'm like, motherfucker, don't ask that. That's rude. Because they're going to pull their pants down and show you. I am in a mood, clearly. Anyway, famous redheads.
That's my friend burning her pubes off.
I don't know. Maybe you're the one creating these problems. Little Miss Blondie. Anyway, so Jessica Rabbit, she's a cartoon, but still.
Oh, famous redheads?
Yeah. Oh, okay. This is what I was saying about the lineage. Elizabeth the First. So 1588, she had red hair.
Whoa.
Real red hair.
Yeah, I've seen that portrayed in films. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's where Harry got it.
Could be.
Yeah. That's going back a few centuries, but hey, there's probably other ones in there too. Anne Margaret and Raquel Welch. Those were little hotties from the 60s.
They sure were.
Yeah. Prince Harry. But you know who the most famous one is?
I love Lucy.
That's right. Lucille Ball.
She's awesome.
Yeah. She's pretty awesome. But it's interesting. All these people we're talking about, or a lot of them, they're from like back in the 60s, except Axl Rose. He's not from the 60s. He's more from like the 90s, I would suppose. Guns N' Roses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Axl Rose. So anyway, this is just snippets on redheads, you guys, because there are a lot of them out there. And I think it's important that we understand that they do have souls.
Oh, they do have souls. They do.
Yes.
Top takeaways would be they have more sex.
They have souls.
They're wild.
They could be wild potentially, but nobody's going to know until it comes down to it. So hence the seeking out of the redheads.
And if you have a redhead in your life and you can coincide any of this information with the way they look or act, we would love to hear about it.
Yeah. And they're not witches.
Nope, they're not witches.
There's none of that bullshit going on. Anyway, on that note, Michelle, I think it's time that we say goodbye. I think it's time we say goodbye.
And on that note, because neither one of us can talk anymore.
We are completely 100% sober.
Absolutely.
Yes. I had a peel today on my face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She's got a red face. Talk about redheads.
Well, it's kind of red. I don't have any makeup or anything on, but it's been one of those days where I feel like I have like a mask or something on my face because my skin's really tight. But it's going to look really amazing in a couple of days.
I have
really
no
excited.
doubt.
Yeah. Just doing that little maintenance thing there.
We just, this blonde and this brunette just had to, dive in a little deeper on one of our competitors. So the topic was the redheads.
Yep.
Much love to you all.
Much love to everyone out there. So
especially the redheads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Michelle, are we on the socials?
We're on, yes, we're on the socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and you will find our episodes on YouTube. You can download and listen to any of them on your favorite platform that you listen to podcasts on. So we are out there, a blonde, a brunette, and a mic.
Yep. And if you have any feedback or any ideas for topics, we would love to hear from you as well. So on that note, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you next week.
Till next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.